LeBron is a Laker.
I am blown away by this contract.
Marcus Cousins, now Golden State Warrior.
I was pretty surprised to see this move go down.
The deals have been fast and furious, and you know he may always be the city's most towering sports figure, but as of Tuesday, he no longer looks over Cleveland, Ohio. The famous LeBron banner that hung for parts of two different stays with the Cavs was taken down today. Symbolic proof that indeed the reign of the king is officially over. We bring in our pal Woj here. We know, Woj, the Lakers have dramatically shaped their roster, right? And there still is some talk that they may still be big game hunting. A lot of other teams might like the services of, say, a Kawhi Leonard. Right. What's going on with Kawhi? What's the latest on a possible deal?
Well, the Lakers now, in the way they've approached these trade talks with San Antonio, they're kind of showing their hand that they may be willing to just wait until next summer in free agency. They've not made an overwhelming offer. I don't think they've come close to meeting the threshold that the Spurs have. And the Spurs threshold for what they'd like, reality starts to set in eventually, and you start to look at what you can get. Boston, Philadelphia, the Lakers, you know, other teams who are interested. A couple questions, especially teams outside of L.A. Number one, the health. They don't have access to his medical information. And even if you give a guy a physical, give Leonard a physical, until you see him back on the court, he's a top 5 player before the injury. Will he become a top 10 or a top 15? Will his body respond? You don't know till he's back on the court. He only played 9 games last year. And then teams like Boston, Philly, others, they're weighing the chances they have to re-sign him. Leonard has been very consistent, and well, really privately, that he wants to go to the Lakers. And so to take him on essentially as a rental, to give up players' picks for a player who's going to leave after 1 year, Boston and Philly don't have to take big risks like that. Philly has not offered anybody outside Embiid, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz. They're off limits. Boston's really got their top 5 players off limits. Boston's more willing to do a deal that's pick heavy. But the Spurs want good players back. They don't want to rebuild. They want picks, and they want guys who can help them stay in the playoffs.
You're talking about a former Finals MVP and Defensive Player of the Year here. You're reporting that still only 21-year-old Devin Booker is on the verge of a gigantic deal. Not that he's not going to be worth it at some point, but what are the numbers and why now?
5 years, $158 million. Booker met today with his agent and Suns owner Robert Sarver, their GM Ryan McDonough in Los Angeles. They presented him with the framework of that max offer, largely agreed on it. They'll finalize terms Friday when the moratorium ends. Teams can sign, or by the weekend, but he'll be there on that deal. He's eligible for his rookie extension. His draft class, players like Karl Anthony Towns are eligible. It's a no-brainer. This is for the Suns, who've really struggled. This is by far their best player. He's the guy they're going to build a franchise around. And with that kind of a player, you come in right at the beginning, you give him the whole max, you say, here you go, and he signs it, and they try to build. But, you know, they had DeAndre Ayton in this draft and Josh Jackson at the top of last year's draft. You know, they're starting to build a nucleus in Phoenix. Ryan McDonough, their GM, is that they can hopefully start to make some headway in the West. But they've got a great young group, and like you said, Devin Booker's only 21 years old.
Amazing, amazing. You want someone to feel welcome, $158 million is a pretty good way to start, right? All right, Woj, great stuff as always.
Thanks.
Very few people saw it coming. DeMarcus Cousins agreeing to a 1-year, $5.3 million deal with the Warriors, and the undefeated's Mark J. Spears reporting Cousins didn't have a single free agent offer. The defending champs adding a 5th All-Star to an already historic, dynastic roster. Reaction from around the league was swift and at times perplexed. Let's start with Michael Wilbon.
Talk about an upgrade. What's the one dimension, the one element that the Warriors have not really had during this entire run? A dynamic big man. A big man who, you know, brings more than just a specific element. You know, they would plug and play. We're going to bring in a guy who's a better passer now, bring in a better defender, bring in somebody who can, you know, play some pick and roll. No. If Boogie Cousins can come back and be mostly himself, he brings something in that position that the Warriors have not had, and they must be chuckling to themselves now.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
To be honest, besides in the video game, no, not really.
DeMarcus Cousins now apparently a Golden State Warrior. Looking for a reaction?
Now? Oh. Are you being...
I'm absolutely serious.
Well, it's the Western Conference, you know. We're all up for a challenge. That's why we're in the West. But we're focused on us, and we're just going to keep playing games. We got a game tomorrow, so that's all we're focused on, one game at a time.
Thank you very much.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Mid-level. I think you're going to make more than this.
Boogie's on the Warriors.
The greatest reaction of all time.
I love that reaction. All right, so how good is this Warriors team now? Vegas, the books have reacted thusly. They're now 2-3 for NBA title odds. Vegas thinks a few teams, and I mean very few, have a shot because 21 of the 30 NBA teams have 100-1 odds or worse to win the title. The Dubs, the favorite, to now three-peat. One of our favorites, NBA analyst Brian Windhorst, back with us on SportsCenter. Brian, how are players, now we saw Jaren Jackson Jr., other players around the league reacting to this move?
A lot of players who apparently have never had an Achilles injury are very excited. The guys who've had Achilles injuries know that this is going to be a really tough year for DeMarcus. Obviously, this was a shock value because nobody saw this coming. In my mind, Randy, I saw this. I was like, hey, man, this is cool. This is cool for DeMarcus because he's going to have a rough year this year. This is cool for the Warriors because it's a really nice risk-reward play for them. If he comes back and helps, it's going to be great. If he doesn't come back and isn't really able to contribute, no big deal. They're still a championship team. But, man, there was like an apoplectic reaction, like the league has been destroyed. I was completely blown away by the reaction to this, as if DeMarcus is going to show up on night one and go for 40 and 15. I mean, the Warriors are going to still have to sign another center because they're going to have to start somebody at that position potentially for 60-plus games. Now, again, I believe we could be sitting here in March and this could be like a genius move and Boogie could be really contributing, and it makes a bunch of sense for them. It didn't make sense for a lot of teams because of his injury. So I wish the best for Boogie. I wish the best for the Warriors. But everybody just take a breath and calm down. They did not sign Wilt Chamberlain in his prime here.
No, they didn't. And they didn't even sign a healthy Wilt Chamberlain later in his career either. So let's move now from the champs to the also-rans, the Thunder, well over the salary cap. A lot of money committed. A lot of money committed to Carmelo Anthony, and he's one of the bigger reasons why they're so far over the cap. How might that impact, how might that change his future in OKC?
Yeah, where Carmelo Anthony is opening night could have a lot bigger impact on this season than where Boogie is. But so there's two important things with Carmelo and the Thunder. Number one is whether Melo is willing to change his role to come back from the starting lineup and be a scorer off the bench for this team, which is probably where they need him to be. If the answer to that question is yes, I think he's got a good future there. If the answer is no, they may have to evaluate their position. And the second thing, Randy, is how do Paul George and Russell Westbrook feel? Do they want Carmelo on this team? They were a big three last year. They really like him. It was a big moment when they traded for him. They've now both re-signed in the wake of Carmelo re-signing. If they want him on the team, I think he'll be there. But if they're indifferent, then I think there's a chance that Carmelo could eventually be on the market before the end of August when this decision would happen. We'll have to see how that plays out over the next 2 months. But I'm going to tell you, the Thunder keeping him on this team versus waiving him and stretching his contract makes tens of millions of dollars in salary cap and luxury tax difference. It is not something to like, oh, we'll keep Melo, everything's cool. This is a major decision.
Yeah, they are repeat offenders. So the luxury tax number combined with the roster number puts it close to $300 million for a team that did not make it out of the first round.
Not just close, Randy. It's over $300 million.
There you go. Brian Windhorst, we appreciate the insight, buddy. Thank you.
Pelicans for Rondo, and according to Woj, she's going to sign a one-year, $9 million deal. The Lakers also renounced Julius Randle. Sounds so formal. We renounce you, which created more cap flexibility. He immediately became a free agent, was immediately snagged by the Pelicans. But yeah, Rondo's a Laker.
LeBron James has been so good over the years. You just feel like he can take any team to the finals. I mean, we look at the team he took to the finals last year. But LeBron needs certain pieces around him that's going to fit. You need shooting around him. You need ball spacing, guys who can play hard and defend. Out of all these players, I like the addition of Rondo because he gives them a high IQ. They're going to play hard. you know, they're going to be in the grit of things. You know, these are guys like Rondo, Lance Stephenson, who's made deep playoff runs. They've been to the finals. And so those are veterans that under the leadership of LeBron and Magic Johnson and Luke Walton can help the young guys move along.
LeBron wanted to build a team to take on the Warriors, and what he's got is sort of like the anti-Warriors. It's like three-ball strugglesville. Rondo is a sub-31% three-point shooter for his career. He's never made more than a three per game in any season. Then there's Lance Stephenson, shot 28.9% from three last season, third worst among all players, who took at least 200 attempts. And then Lonzo Ball. I mean, his shooting struggles are well documented. Last season, only Russell Westbrook made fewer percentage of threes than Lonzo did in as many attempts. So if the Lakers have shooting woes next season, it's not exactly going to be a new thing. Last season, they ranked as one of the worst teams in a variety of shooting categories, including catch and shoot, mid-range, three-pointers, and free throws. The silver lining to all of this is, of course, LeBron. Last year, 7 of LeBron's Cavs teammates were able to improve their shooting off of his passes. Hello, Brian Windhorst. This Rondo deal is sort of interesting to me. It's like red flags, flares, whatever you got, throw it up. I sort of feel like it's asking for the drama. What do you think?
Well, in and of itself, bringing on Rondo actually kind of makes some sense. He's a highly intelligent player, very competitive, valuable in the postseason. I kind of get it. I'm down for it. I'm even okay with the $9 million. That's an average player's salary in the NBA now. The issue is with what else they have on the team, specifically Lonzo Ball. And this is where I'm worried about the drama, Nicole, because Lonzo Ball is their point guard of the future and their franchise point guard, and a guy that you'd like to develop playing alongside LeBron James. Not only that, I kind of like the fit with Lonzo because he throws the ball up court. He'll start fast breaks that LeBron can finish. By doing this, you raise the potential for there to be friction between Rondo, who I know is going to want to play, and Lonzo, who you want to develop. So the question to me is, did the Lakers do this because they have a landing spot where they can trade Lonzo Ball? Or did the Lakers do this from Magic's perspective to create healthy competition? Because considering the personality that Lonzo has and the personality that Rondo has, I don't think this is going to be the greatest fit in the world. So definitely something to watch. It's only July 3rd. We don't know the entire Lakers depth chart yet, so I'm going to hold back a little bit. But let's just say I was pretty surprised to see this move go down.
Yeah, I feel like something's cooking. I feel like they're working on something. Don't go too far. We're going to bring Brian back in a few minutes to talk about DeMarcus Cousins, who's going to that poor Warriors roster, and Kevin Love's future in Cleveland. What might that be? So stand by.
The bottom, the balance of power really shifting out west. Several big-name players making the splash early on in NBA free agency, although he initially declined his player option with the Thunder. Paul George agreeing to a 4-year, $137 million max with Oklahoma City. In his first season with the Thunder, George averaged career highs in three-point field goals and steals. And then there is Chris Paul, also staying put, agreeing to a 4-year, $160 million max contract with the Rockets, the 6th largest contract in terms of total value in NBA history. Paul has missed 46 games over the last 2 seasons due to injury. He'll be 36 years old in the last year of his contract. The LeBron era in Cleveland is over as the King, agreeing to a 4-year, $153 million contract to join the Lakers on Sunday. LeBron will look to bring Los Angeles back to glory after a franchise record 5 straight seasons missing the playoffs. And just last night, DeMarcus Cousins, recovering from a torn left Achilles, agreeing to a 1-year, $5.3 million deal with the Warriors. Next season, Golden State will be the 6th team in NBA history to have 5 All-Stars from the previous season.
I bet. I'm a warrior.
That's when he found out. Stephen A. Smith joining us now. Hey, Stephen A., you knew what was coming after the news broke last night of DeMarcus Cousins signing with the Warriors. What's your reaction to those who say, man, the Warriors are ruining the NBA?
Well, I think people need to grow up, and I think people need to just stop all of this nonsense. It really gets on my damn nerves, to be quite honest with you. Listen, Boogie Cousins is not going to be available probably until April or May. He's going to have to work off the rust, and then even then, he's going to be in the Warriors lineup, and he's going to be the 4th option at best. And so when we understand that, we recognize the potency of the Golden State Warriors, but they were going to be potent with or without them. I'm not trying to say that he doesn't help them, but this is a guy that averaged 25, 13, and 5 last season, okay, as the number 1 or number 1A option. He's going to be a 4th option in Golden State. You got to take those things into consideration. And more importantly, you got to be about embracing the challenges. understanding that the Warriors is going to be incumbent upon them to figure out what role he can play and how he can play it in their system to such a degree that he doesn't grow frustrated or turned off by what's transpiring. You could say a lot of things when nobody's picked up the phone to call you and you're looking for a contract. But once you have that contract and you're in tow and you're anxious to get out there because you're a free agent, you're going to be a free agent next summer, and you're anxious to remind everybody of the greatness that you put on display for the first 9 years of your career, if you're inhibited from doing so because 3 other individuals on the squad are bigger options than you, who knows what kind of negative impact that could have. So people need to stop whining and crying and go out there hell-bent on competing, because true champions are ones who want to knock off champions so they can validate their own greatness as opposed to whining about the level of competition that they got to go up against.
Well, all right then. Let's go back down south to Los Angeles for a second. We've heard that LeBron is willing to be patient with the Lakers front office, but James is 33, turning 34 in December. Winning soon would be preferred, I'm sure. How satisfied are you with the Lakers roster as presently constructed?
Not very satisfied. I'm happy that they still held on to Kyle Kuzma rather than give in to the San Antonio's demands, which I have heard were Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and about 3 first-round picks. Certainly, LA would have been foolish to do that, assuming those things are true. But in the end, what it comes down to is that Rondo can ball. He elevates his level of play in the postseason, but he's no shooter. Lance Stevenson is an enigmatic individual who shows up in big moments from time to time, but I'm not dependent on him either. Don't get me started with JaVale McGee. The only thing I'm looking forward to seeing when it comes to him is Shaq and the fool. So the bottom line is, when you look at it from that perspective, there's some huge question marks. The Lakers are on the phone presently trying to get a shooter. They were hoping to get their hands on J.J. Redick. That did not work out because he re-signed with Philadelphia. Who knows who they're going to get in tow as a shooter. The pressure's not on LeBron to win this year because no matter who you had, you were not going to be the favorite over Golden State. But they do recognize the priority of getting Kawhi Leonard, especially since you're not going to get Paul George. They're still working on that. Who knows what's going to happen within the next 24 hours or so as it pertains to that. But they definitely need more than they have right now. So I'm not satisfied.
Stephen A. Smith, breaking it down. My man, appreciate you.
No doubt.
Ennis Cantor is more upset than Stephen A. on the Warriors' crybabies on what's going on. Check this out on Twitter, saying that the commish agreed to a mid-level extension with Golden State. He also said he wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors signed Thanos and John Wick to their bench for 1 year. But I don't think Keanu Reeves' shooting is good enough to join this particular Warriors team. Let's be honest, the collective group of basketball fans on social media, I know you guys call yourselves NBA Twitter. Don't be fooled. This is NBA Twitter. Adrian is here. Let's start with everything that's happened in free agency, starting with the Australian Dante Exum.
Yeah, I'm just reporting now. Dante Exum has agreed to a 3-year, $33 million extension with Utah. He's still only 22 years old. He was a 5th overall pick in 2014, fought through injuries early in his Jazz career, but tremendous potential. That organization really still believes in his future. Tyreke Evans, a 1-year, $12 million deal. Sources tell me to go to the Pacers. Flew in there today. He'll join Doug McDermott in their free agent class. Michael Carter-Williams, a 1-year deal to go to the Houston Rockets, play off their bench behind Chris Paul, James Harden. And the Nuggets have traded Wilson Chandler and his $12.8 million deal, a 2nd-round pick, to Philadelphia into their cap space. Denver looking to get out of the luxury tax, and now they're going to re-sign Will Barton. And now Wilson Chandler goes to the Sixers. You know, good two-way player. He can help that team, or they can flip him in a trade. And they've been talking with the Spurs, although that has not gotten a lot of traction, sources tell me, because they have not shown a willingness to put any of their 3 top players in the deal. Now, you know Embiid and Ben Simmons aren't going to be in the deal, but Markelle Fultz has not been in. And when you've got a top 3 or 4 player in the world and the team won't put any of its top 3 guys in, you can do the math. That's not a deal that's working.
And that top 3 player in the world, of course, we know is Kawhi Leonard. When healthy, the offensive and defensive prowess he brings. So what is the latest on him right now?
Well, you know, teams around the league, the Spurs aren't getting, this is not a bidding war going on. You know, there's concerns about Kawhi Leonard. Teams don't know the medical, the quad injury. They don't know how he's going to return from it. And they know that he wants to play in Los Angeles. And so there's lots of reasons for you to be cautious with how much you're going to offer. Boston has talked to him. Philadelphia has talked. The Clippers have tried. Denver's checked in. The Lakers have been, so far, pretty staunch in keeping some of their young players out of trade talks.
Yeah.
So right now, the Spurs are willing to do a deal if the right one comes up. They're also willing to play it out with Kawhi Leonard. They can still offer him that $219 million supermax, but the relationship between he and the team, that's remained extremely poor. It's unchanged. There's been no coming together since that brief meeting between Popovich and Kawhi in L.A., or in Southern California a few weeks ago.
And we should mention Southern California. It's not just the lore of the Lakers. Kawhi Leonard went to King High School in Riverside. He's a SoCal kid, so if this happens, it could be a bit of a homecoming. And, of course, we know Woj will stay on top of everything. You know what happened right after we got off the air last night with Boogie Cousins. Adrian, thank you very much. The notable free agents remaining that he will be keeping an eye on: Clint Capella and Marcus Smart are obviously fixtures on their team. Jabari Parker was the second overall pick in his NBA draft. All these guys, though, are restricted. Obviously a huge qualifier when we're talking about unrestricted free agents like we have the last 24 to 40.